This is the final sermon that I'm going to do based on songs and readings from our own hymn book, Singing the Living Tradition. And because it's springtime and we recently had Earth Day, I wanted to do something today that centered in on the earth. So I chose a reading that's entitled, We Belong to the Earth. Now this reading is by Chief Noah Seattle, or Seal, or Seal, or one pronunciation I heard was Siat. This is a real chief that is famous for a couple of reasons. They have different spellings of his name because of the fact that his name spelled in his native language was very different and included some letters that are not in our alphabet. His most famous name, the one he's known for most, is Chief Seattle. And that is because Seattle is named for him. So that's one of the things he's famous for. How this happened was he was trading with some trading post folks, but he had to go quite a piece to trade, and he had a lot to trade. He was a good trading partner. And he told the trading post person that if they would move it to a little small community closer, it would be a lot better for him and he could trade more and it would be more helpful. And so they agreed to move and open up a trading post in this little settlement with just a few houses. Now, what the trading post man said to the few folks that were living there, they had some other little name. He said, because I want to really honor Chief Seattle and also have his business, I'm going to bring this trading post here, but you need to rename the community Seattle. And that is the Seattle of today. So that is his first reason for being famous. The other thing that makes this chief famous is the speech. Supposedly he gave the speech when he had someone visiting there wanting to make more changes and do more, make so-called progress, but things he felt were not progressive for his community and his folks. And he came up and he did not write, and he spoke in his native language, but supposedly he put his hand on the bald head of this gentleman that was there and gave a speech. And in that speech spoke of his love of the earth and spoke of caring for that and lifting that up and giving some advice to this person that was there that wanted to do these things. No one wrote down the speech, or of course no one recorded it at the time. 60 years later, somebody writes it down, and publishes it. And then it gets published again, a little differently and a little differently. So we don't really know what he says, but we attribute this reading to him, and certainly the message of this reading would certainly be similar to the message he was giving on that day. So I want to be clear about that, because sometimes we say quote people and it's not somebody says, no, they never really said that, but it's attributed to this chief. And so we honor him and honor indigenous folks who try to teach us these things. It's number 550 in our hymnal. We're going to read this. This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth.
This we know, all things are connected like the blood which unites one family.
All things are connected.
Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth.
We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it.
Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves.
So, this is our reading for today, and this is what I'm focusing on for today. I focus on nature a lot. I spend a lot of time out in nature. It does inspire me. So this is the pond dam in front of my house, and I'll invite you to come with me. Walk with me. Listen with me. Wonder with me. Are these birds singing for me? Are they providing this nice, peaceful time for me to connect and enjoy with them? And what are these birds? Well, although I love nature and I spend a lot of time in it, I haven't studied as much as some of you have to really know about these birds. It could be any of these birds, as far as I know, these backyard birds of Georgia. So I sent that video to a friend of mine, Sally Revole, who is a birder, and she knows her birds. She knows them when she sees them. She knows them when she hears them. I said, Sally, she lives down near my other place, my other congregation is in the other congregation. I said, Sally, listen to this and tell me what I'm listening to, what's going on. So Sally was delighted that I called on her for this because she loves her birds. And she wrote me back and said, Jane, this is what you're hearing. This is a Carolina wren. That's the main bird voice you are hearing, a Carolina wren. They are especially loud in the morning. Sometimes so loud they will wake you up. They will wake you up. And she said, I heard another voice too. I heard a crow, especially on the pond down. That was a crow. Well, this is an American crow. So I'm wondering, what are they chirping so lovely and loudly about? Why do birds sing? Why do birds sing? There are two main reasons birds sing. One is to mark their territory. That's one of the main reasons they sing, to share with the other birds. These are male birds that are singing. That's who you hear singing is the males. And they're sharing that this is my territory. That's what they're chirping about. And the other reason birds sing is for sex. Birds sing, the male birds, to attract the female to them. Those are the two main reasons that birds sing. Not for my enjoyment. I can enjoy them, but they're singing to mark their territory, and they're singing for sex. So, Sally said that this wren that I was hearing, the particular sound that wren was making was marking his territory. Now, I listened, and I had the ability. You know, I have many talents. This is one you don't know I have. I can translate birdsong into English. So I listened again to that bird, and this is what the bird was saying. This is my space. This is my space. Don't come here. Don't come here. I've already got it. My space. My space. That's what the wren was saying. Now, the crow, she didn't say that was... So I listened on the internet. I said, well, maybe the crow's doing it for sex. But indeed, I heard the different crow sounds, and the crow was not doing this for sex. The crow was also marking his territory. Go away, go away, go away. Marking his territory. This is my spot. Well, I listened also. I said, well, what does he say when he is trying to look for sex? I listened to that. And I heard a very different sound. They only do that when the female is close. And it's more of a cooing sound, coo, coo, and gurgle, gurgle, coo, coo. More like, I'm over here, I know you want some, come on. Yeah. So that is the sound, and that's the translation for you all of what these birds are saying in my woods there. Now, it's not only the birds that do this, but actually we humans do it too. We do the same kinds of things. Now, this human being right here, Jane, I want you to listen to Jane's calls as she walks in the woods. Oh, look how marvelous this is. What a pretty place, and how blessed I am that my granddaddy bought this property back when you could buy it really cheaply, and that my daddy built this dam so we could have this nice pond. Oh, how nice. And my brother has post-it signs up so that nobody will be out here bothering me while I walk. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Woo, woo. Actually, it's not mine, it's my mama's. But I put this, it makes a point, and it makes a point that we human creatures are really no different. We put up our post-it signs, our fences, our border walls, and in reality, this earth is no more mine or ours than it is the birds or the bees. We might lay a temporary claim on some parts of it and border it off, but we don't own the earth. We belong to the earth. A lot of us like to think, well, but we have dominion over the earth, right? But no, we are just part of the creatures, and we're doing the same kinds of things oftentimes that these creatures are doing because we are creatures too. Now, I found this nice little picture, and I posted it on Facebook because I thought, oh, this gives a good message. And I put under this, I hope that these younger hands do a better job than the older hands. You know, as we hand it off, I hope you can do better than we've done, right? But this picture, I think, though, is an inaccurate depiction because, again, it makes it seem like we're the caretakers, we own the earth, we pass it off from one generation to the other, when in reality, the earth was doing quite fine, thank you, before humans evolved. You know, it was a lot more better balanced. Now, so we belong to the earth. The earth is our metaphorical mother, okay? Now, it's a metaphor, but let's go with the metaphor. The earth is our metaphorical mother. We are the children. But those of you who are parents know that your children can so stress you, or even with your nieces and that, so stress you, so deplete you of your energy, that you can no longer take care of them sometimes. They can wear you out. And that's what we've done. The human beings are just wearing our mama out, wearing her out. Now, with all this individualism, though, I do want to lift up, too, that creatures and even the rocks and minerals, we do cooperate. And in fact, the only reason we've survived this long is because we've cooperated. We give and take and we share. We've evolved to that we do share. There are a lot of examples in nature. Here's one I'm going to show you. Here's a zebra with an ostrich. Now, the zebra has very good eyesight, but the zebra's sense of smell is just not there. Not very good at all. The ostrich, on the other hand, has a wonderful sense of smell, but very poor eyesight. So very often, if you were to go where zebras roam and ostriches roam, they'll be roaming together. They pair up. They go with one another because they help each other out. They are the same prey for some things, and one can see, one can smell, and they can warn each other. And not only is it zebras and ostriches and other animals and plants, but we know this. I mean, our whole setup is based on animals and plants cooperating. Where do we get our oxygen from? From the plants. And we breathe out carbon dioxide. It's a balance. It's a dance. But what happens is we have decided to dance a little too hard. We have stamped our feet way too hard, beginning with when people first invented fire. And we're able to break those carbons out to get the warmth. I'm very happy for that. I can cook my food, you know. But we didn't stop there. We went on and on and on. And we're breaking up all these carbons, getting all this energy, and we're wearing our mama out. Now, we know we've got to do different, and we know that we belong to the earth and that we should have respect for our mother. This is part of our religion. Our seventh principle. We had this as one of our principles that we affirm and promote. Read this with me. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. That is one of our most important principles that we lift up, that we respect the interdependent web. We understand that we are dependent on one another. And not only that, Unitarian Universalists, when we list our sources of what inspires us, where we get information from, what we get our knowledge from, our sixth source is this. Read this with me. Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So we say yes. Chief Seattle and many of these folks that have these more indigenous types of religions, the pagans, we say we look to some of them, some of their traditions, some of their rituals, because we realize that we've gotten out of rhythm with nature. And we ourselves need to dance with nature rather than pounding nature away. So when people ask you, why do you do these things in church? Why is Jane preaching on environmentalism and stuff like that? And why are you doing these things and worried about green sanctuary, that stuff? You know, that's politics. What are you doing that for? It's part of our religion. This is part of our religion. It's part of what we do and who we are. It's part of our religion to pay attention and to act. Pay attention and to act. Now, here's one of the things I pay attention to. This is the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They had a report out last year, and I'm going to share some of that with you. And before I share it with you, I'd like to tell you that I heard this morning, though, that the IPCC was pressured to go easy on this, not to be as dramatic as they could be. It's actually worse than this, okay? And I'll share that with you a little bit. I'm going to let you read with me just a summation, though, of this. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a group of the world's top scientists convened by the United Nations, put out a START report last year highlighting how little time we have left to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the most ambitious goal under the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, which of course we've dropped out of. The key finding is that if we want to hit this target, we have to cut global greenhouse gas emissions in half to compare to where they are now by 2030. By 2030, we've got to cut it in half. By 2050, we would have to reach net zero emissions. And after that, we would even have to start withdrawing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Otherwise, the window to 1.5 degrees Celsius closes, and we lock ourselves into more warming, which will lead to more sea level rise, more devastating extreme weather, mass migrations, and expensive declines in the global economy. Despite these findings, we're far off track and only getting farther. Global carbon dioxide emissions hit an all-time high in 2018. Atmospheric carbon dioxide levels crossed a record 411 parts per million, the highest levels since humans have existed. In the United States, energy use hit a record high, and greenhouse gas emissions started to rise again in 2018 after years of decline. Isn't that sad? That said, we do know what we need to do to accelerate progress in fighting climate change. From pricing carbon dioxide to eating less meat to supporting public officials who will advance critical policies. We know a lot of the things we have to do. Now, I read yesterday a Forbes magazine article put out, it was written by this scientist at Harvard, that said, this is not accurate. We really only have 5 years. 5 years to make some dramatic differences because of the ice melting at the poles. We have already lost, in the last 30 years, 75 to 80% of the ice at the poles. And you can't turn something like that around with the things we're talking about doing. He said, when you look at the irreversibility and you study the numbers, this, along with the moral issue, is what keeps you up at night. The chance that there will be any permanent ice left in the Arctic after 2022 is essentially zero if we keep like we're going now. Now that's just right here. He said that 75% to 80% of permanent ice has melted in the last 35 years. Can we lose that and recover? The answer is no. He says we've got to do some dramatic things, like a World War II level kind of thing. That kind of cooperation between governments and people, and all the people, everybody got involved, bought the bond, did everything. He said it's going to take that kind of effort. Like at the poles, reflecting the sun back out. We got to do these small things we can do. Yes, that I passed out these handouts for you. Yes, we have to do that, but we got to go a lot further than that, much more, which means we got to get scientists involved. He said, the scientists, he gets really frustrated because the biologists get a lot of money to cure cancer. Hallelujah. We like that idea. Cure AIDS, hallelujah. But what good is that going to be if we have no earth to be on, right? If we can't maintain our life. He said we got to get money not only to those folks, but the physicists to figure this stuff out and to work on it. And we all have to push for that. It is like the little Uma, what I've forgotten her last name is, from the Scandinavia. She said, our house is on fire. This is a crisis, and we have to act now. So, what will you do? What will you do? Most of us are already doing things. We can say, I do this, I do that. And yes, we are. Many of us we're on this road. If you look at the list I gave you, the handout, you can say, I do this and this and this. Yes. But what I'm saying is that's not going to be enough. We all have to do more, much more, much more. But we can't do it all at once. We're human beings. And we say, well, can we at least take a step? What can you do a little more than you're already doing? So not only have I given you a handout, this is the second time this year I've given handouts, and I didn't used to do that because I don't like to waste paper, but I want you to see these. So there's 35 things you can do. Now, what I'd like for you to do with that card that you have and that little piece of paper, and y'all might have to go back and get one or do it after the service, is I want you to think about what else you can do. Now, if you've already quit using straws and tell them, they're going to bring them anyway, by the way. You have to say, when you order that margarita, you have to say, without salt and without a straw. Don't bring it, right? If you've already quit that, don't you put that down, because you've already quit that. Now, you put the next thing down. What else? What else can you do? What else are you going to commit yourself today to doing? That's a good reason for having church. You make commitments and you feel like, as part of my faith, I made this faith commitment. This I need to do. It might be changing your diet, It might be contacting some government officials. It might be spending money on some other things you think are necessary. Doing more things in your home, doing a home audit, seeing how you can use less energy there. There are a lot of good things you can do. So just choose one and don't sign your name, because I don't want this to be a contest to see who had the best idea. I am going to put them up somewhere. Choose one, though, and when we do the offering, put it in the offering plate as part of a commitment, your commitment to do one more thing. And while we do this, I want us to think about it, and I know it's just a metaphor, but I want us to think about it because it helps me to think about it this way, that this is our Mother Earth. And it's like a living organism. The top part of it is, if we don't want it just to be a rock, like the other planets, and by the way, they've looked at a lot of other planets, and there's no one anywhere near that has what we have, that can have the life that we have. So we're not just going to all take off and live on Mars or something, right? This is it, folks. So what are we going to do? And while you write that down, think about it. And while you're thinking about it, we're going to sing Mother, I Feel You Under My Feet. It's going to be up here, so when you finish writing, you can join in singing it.
Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Mother, I hear your heartbeat.
All of us in this interdependent web of life, in this interdependent web on earth, help us to maintain our commitments and nurture one another and our earth, our mother. Amen.